All right, hi, my name is Jeremy Sims. I am somebody who likes teaching the Bible. I specifically like bringing things to light that people haven't noticed previously. But this particular series, I'm calling this Too Long Didn't Read series. And here, whereas I usually go into great detail, here I'm going to just try to give a fairly quick idea of what the text says. And the text we're looking at today is Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 20 through 38, I believe is what we're doing today. So just a quick review. Jeremiah, this is literally his first sermon, at least his first public sermon here in chapter 2. He's delivering it to the world, and it's quite a sermon indeed. We talked about, and there is a video, I guess I should say this, there is a video for the first part of this chapter, along with the previous chapter. And also, if you are somebody who wants things a lot more detailed, then maybe you should look for, I will have a long version of this. It's not up yet, but I will be recording it in the days to come. So, anyway, first part of this chapter, Jeremiah really painted this picture of God as being the fountain of life from which our sustenance comes from. And he has all these little word pictures just where God's really illustrating the point that Israel, instead of taking their life source, their source of their prosperity from God, turned to everything but God for that. So we're continuing on with that thought. And in verse 20, it says, "For long ago I broke your yoke and burst your bonds, but you said, I will not serve. Yes, on every high hill and under every green tree you bowed down like a whore. Yet I planted you a choice vine, wholly of pure seed. How then have you turned degenerate and become a wild vine? Though you wash yourself with lye and use much soap, the stain of your guilt is still before me, declares the Lord God. How can you say, I am not unclean? I have not gone after the Baals. Look at your way in the valley, know what you have done. A restless young camel running here and there, a wild donkey used to the wilderness, in her heat sniffing the wind. Who can restrain her lust? None who seek her need weary themselves. In her month they will find her. Keep your feet from going unshod and your throat from thirst. But you said, it is hopeless, for I have loved foreigners, and after them I will go." All right, so let's talk about this. For long ago I broke your yoke and burst your bonds. We have this idea of God setting people free, referring to Israel in particular. But you said, I will not serve. So we have this idea of God doesn't want us to be a slave, but he does want us to be a servant, someone who will serve him in a noble way, in an esteemed position. Servants aren't a bad thing in the mind of the Bible. But you said, I will not serve. Yes, on every high hill and under every green tree you bowed down like a whore. Such harsh language, really strict. He's saying you're willing to serve something, you're willing to bow down for something. It's just not me. And that under every high hill and every green tree, this is where they would worship the false gods. Yet I planted you a choice vine, wholly of pure seed. How then have you turned degenerate and become a wild vine? So it's like this, I had something really special here. I planted you, I expected something good, and somehow that has become corrupted, that has become degenerate. What was supposed to be so beautiful is not. Though you wash yourself with lye and use much soap, the stain of your guilt is still before me, declares the Lord God. Certain types of lye soap will burn you. They have the ability to burn you, or at least lye. I don't know if that's specifically the kind referenced here, but it's a strong cleaning agent. And God's saying, even despite all this, you can't get clean. How can you say, I am not unclean? I have not gone after the Baals. Look at your way. Let's stop right there. I'm not unclean. I have not gone after the Baals. It says Baals, plural. We talked about, if you watched the last video, we might have talked a little bit about Baal as a particular god. Well, Baal just means Lord, and it did refer to a specific god, but also it's kind of a generic term for all sorts of gods. So here he's saying, you've not only gone after one, but so many, and yet they're denying it. Look at your way in the valley. Their valley is where there seems to be some indication that was one of the places they did worship to false gods and maybe even human sacrifices there. It's not 100% nailed down, but I believe that's the case. I haven't nailed it down. I have limited time. Anyway, I think that's what it's referring to. Know what you have done. A restless young camel running here and there. The idea here seems to be that camels were known as being very quick and very active, and in their time of heat, which God's about to mention for the donkey, so it seems to be connected. They would break off from the pack to look for the sexual to fulfill their sexual lust. A wild donkey in the wilderness, in her heat, sniffing the wind, they'd be trying to find a mate. Who can restrain her lust? None who seek her need weary themselves. In her month they will find her. Keep your feet from going unshod and your throat from thirst. This idea is like, don't wear out your shoes, seems to be what's suggested here. Don't make yourself thirsty looking for her. She's going to come find you. But you said, it is hopeless, for I have loved foreigners, and after them I will go. So just completely giving yourself up over to the sin. Verse 26, as a thief is shamed when caught, so the house of Israel shall be shamed. They, their kings, their officials, their priests, and their prophets, who say to a tree, you are my father, and to a stone, you gave me birth. For they have turned their back on me, and not their face. But in the time of their trouble they say, arise and save us. But where are your gods that you made for yourself? Let them arise if they can save you, in your time of trouble. For as many as your cities are your gods, O Judah. So this harsh, bitter language from the Lord. He's talking about this metaphor of really parentage, I think, is the main idea being expressed here. He's saying, rather than recognize me as your proper father, you're talking to these stones and trees, these false gods, these symbols, as if they are your God. And he's going after all the kings and officials, priests and prophets, all these people he's taking on. What a first sermon from Jeremiah, can you imagine? And he's saying, you think you're going to trust in these things, but they're not going to save you. And I love that line, for they have turned their back to me and not their face. I have a daughter who's 3 years old and she can be defiant, and that resonates with me because sometimes she does that to me. And it never works out well for her. Let them arise, see you, and save you. As many as your cities are your gods, O Judah. That seems to be quite literal. They literally had, it seems, a specific god for every city. At least that's what some people suggest. In verse 29, why do you contend with me? You have all transgressed against me, declares the Lord. In vain have I struck your children. They took no correction, for your sword devoured your prophets like a ravening lion. And you, O generation, behold the word of the Lord. Have I been a wilderness to Israel, or a land of thick darkness? Why then do my people say, we are free, we will come no more to you? Can a virgin forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. Why do you contend with me? That idea is so powerful. This is the second time God is mentioned, maybe the third time God is mentioned just in this chapter, the rest being earlier in the first half, of the idea of contending with people, and them contending with him and him contending with them. And he's saying, why are you fighting me? And it's as if they came to him making accusations of him. They saying, you are the ones who have violated me. You're in the wrong. In vain I have struck your children. They took no correction. For your sword devoured your prophets like a ravening lion. We talked about in Jeremiah 1 how Jeremiah was promised delivery from his, delivery of some sort. It didn't specify, but if you're wondering why, it's probably this. They were killing all the people God was sending to them. They were murdering them. And even though Jeremiah wasn't delivered from lots of troubles, he was at least be able to stay alive to continue to deliver the message for the Lord. And you, O generation, behold the word of the Lord. Have I been a wilderness to Israel, or a land of thick darkness? To me, this sounds a little more calm in a way, a little bit more pleading as opposed to the more accusatory stuff you hear before. But he's saying, have I not provided for you? Have I not been, like we were talking about from last section, that source of life and strength and water and fruitfulness for you? Have I been a harsh place to you? No. No, of course, is the answer. Why then do my people say, we are free, we will come no more to you? God's playing around with so many metaphors and pictures in this. He uses servants as an image and wife as an image, and I don't know which one is exactly being expressed here, but both fit. They're trying to say, we're free from you, we're done with you, we're no longer working for you, serving you, in relationship with you. We want to cut it off. Can a virgin forget her ornaments? And, going directly into the idea of virgin and a maid. It might be suggesting more that wife type role. Maybe that's what's being suggested with being free. Maybe it's like saying you're acting like you just want a divorce. Can a virgin forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? The ornaments of a virgin seem to be just referring to like the normal things that women wear to accessorize, I guess is what I'm looking for. Um, uh, can a bride forget her attire? Apparently, at the time, married women would wear a sash to indicate that they were married, so that's probably what it's talking about. People think of like a wedding gown, but that's actually probably not what's being suggested here. Um, Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. God's saying this is something that's unnatural. Women naturally are drawn to ornaments. It seems to be the way women are designed. They're drawn to beauty. They want to express beauty. They are proud of the fact that they are married. They enjoy that. That's something of honor to them. Um, and yet people are willing to turn aside God's people had been turning aside from Him, turning away from Him. It's something unnatural. That's not right. It shows something is messed up in your desires and your heart. All right, last section. Verse 33. How well you direct your course to seek love, so that even to wicked women you have taught your ways. Also on your skirts is found the lifeblood of the guiltless poor. You did not find them breaking in, yet in spite of these things you say, I am innocent. Surely his anger is turned from me. Behold, I will bring you to judgment for saying, I have not sinned. How much you go about changing your way. You shall be put to shame by Egypt as you are put to shame by Assyria. From it too you will come away with your hands on your head, for the Lord has rejected those in whom you trust, and you will not prosper by them. So how well you direct your course to seek love. First thing that came to my mind when I heard that is love, that stupid statement people say as if it's expressing something meaningful. How well you direct your course to seek love. They're just looking for lovers, looking for love, and they feel like, oh, we're expressing such a beautiful thing, love, but it's just lust. It's just lust. So even to wicked women you have taught your ways. That's another kind of gut punch to me of like, ooh, yeah, man, Israel and Judah were supposed to be the lights to the world. And instead they had actually gone where they were corrupting other people. What a fall if you think of that. Like, what if that was your child that you had taught so well, invested so much into to be hopefully a good person, and they were actually going about corrupting other people. Also in your skirts is found the lifeblood of the guiltless poor, which is really a horrific image to me. I don't know why, but that just strikes me as particularly horrifying. They're preying on people, and we don't know exactly what this is talking about. We know the prophets, we know from Kings there's some great slaughters going on through this time. Also, we know these orgies and stuff that would take place to worship these false gods often would result in unwanted children. And there were often children given up. I don't know how often, but sometimes given up for sacrifice, not infrequently. You did not find them breaking in, so it's not like you had justification for this. Yet in spite of all these things, you say, I am innocent. Surely his anger is turned from me. They're so deceived they can't even see how guilty they are. Behold, I will bring you to judgment for saying, I have not sinned. Just that idea of it's not just what you've done wrong, but even more so, denying that you've done wrong that brings you under the condemnation. God is always merciful, quick to forgive, but they're not looking for it because they won't even admit what they've done. How much you go about changing your way. This is referring to different alliances probably between different nations, because again, Judah was turning to everywhere except God for their security. You shall be put to shame by Egypt as you were put to shame by Assyria. These shifting alliances they had, these people that keep betraying them, that was discussed in the first part of the chapter, or hinted at anyway. From it too you will come away with your hands on your head, just this picture of dejection, woe, ruin. For the Lord has rejected those in whom you trust, and you will not prosper by them. So, kind of a quick wrap up for this section. The main things I get from this is God taking away their excuses. Somehow Israel had fooled themselves into thinking that they were okay, and clearly they were not. And God brings it up over and over again. This is not okay. You're not getting away with this. You are not truly following me. I am not on your side, and you don't even notice it. So he's really calling them out on. The other thing I see here is God saying that, you are pursuing all these things that aren't me. You're going to get what you want. You want to pursue false gods, then you go those false gods to save you. You want to pursue lustfulness, well, you're going to be labeled a whore. If you're going to pursue, murderousness, well, murder is coming your way. Judgment's a coming. You really do get what you're looking for in many ways. If you're really seeking it, you're really going to find it, and it's not going to be pretty. So those are the kind of main things I see here, and yeah. So something to think about. Make sure you're setting your eyes on God and pursuing the right things, so you can be identifying with Jeremiah in this passage and not the land of Judah that was coming under condemnation. Okay, well, hope you've enjoyed that. I will be making a longer version of this, and I will continue the series. And I guess I'll catch you next time. Hope you enjoyed.